anyone who's new, how we do those classes is I go over the theory, and then after that I'm gonna share some of the examples of how the pro players or high ranked streamers are implementing the same ideas, whatever we're gonna talk about today. And afterwards you guys can ask any questions, and if we have time I can also briefly look at your replays too, maybe, but I think there's gonna be just 50-50 on the theory and looking at the pro players exactly. Well, anyway, we're starting with rotations, pathing, and I would say the most important ideas here is just knowing how do you set up on the map. So let's just go forward a little bit. There's a few slides on the theory. Can you guys see the stream, by the way? How is the slides? Does it work for you? Or
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Yeah, check in. The recording is working as well, so it should be all right. All right, so the basic things we want to start with, it's understanding of angle control, what kind of angles we need to take, and I usually like to divide it on two basic factors. It's just understanding how deep you can go on the map, and it's usually understanding, are you taking angles closer to your team? Are you going deeper in a way? So I will maybe explain that. Let's just use the board, for example, here for just anyone who's new. I usually use those terms a lot. So yeah, we basically thinking about where most of our team is. Let's say most of your team is going to be positioning on location A. Yeah, let's maybe make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. All right, so let's say our team is positioned somewhere over here. This is going to be the main lane where most of them are, and they're trying to go in this direction, just trying to go the normal, kind of going towards the normal way, the main lane towards the objective. So a lot of the times what you need to think about is how far deep you can go with an off angle or just with any angle in general. So softer angles is anywhere typically closer to this point A. For example, you being all over here, let's just say this is going to be the position B eventually, and this is B1. If I'm anywhere near this location A, not going too deep on the clock, in a way, you maybe can imagine it as imaginary circle, the clock you moving on in a way, and usually not going past 90 off angle. So what a 90 off angle is, it's exactly where most of my team is going. Let's say they're going in this direction, and you kind of forming this perpendicular line towards where they're going. And you, most of the time, with the soft off angles, you're not taking the angles deeper than 90. So this, all of these angles are soft over here. And hard angles is usually considered going anywhere deeper past the 90. That's how I would phrase it most of the time. You also may hear the terms such as pinch or pincer, and all of it is mostly when you completely behind the enemy team. You're kind of sandwiching the enemy team from both sides in a way. That's the most important things you guys need to know. By the way, I explained a lot of these ideas in the previous classes on the how to take angles or just how to control the map better in a way, so you can also watch those just in case. All the classes are linked in the class and drills, but yeah, most of it I think we're also gonna go over it today, so it should be all good. Also, let me just open the chat just in case, so I see everyone. Good, yeah, thank you, G-Dog. Yeah, okay, now let's move forward. So this is mostly about the angles, and we also need to understand the range. At the same time, once we come, well, you kind of look at the character and you need to think about your character in general. Are you do you like to be at the short range more, or do you like to take in the long range off angles, or like, I mean, any angles in general? So based on those two factors, you can think about where do you rotate, because if you understand what positions your character favors in general, then it makes it easy for you to create that path in a way. Yeah, you cannot just rotate just because your team is going somewhere. You always need to consider the good positions on the map in general for your character. Yeah, sorry, there was any question, or I just heard someone. Okay, there was no question. But yeah, does everything make sense so far? With the angles, with the range, or any questions, guys? I assume everything makes sense, if there are no questions. All right. And the second most important idea is just knowing the cover And a lot of the times I talk about that you need to have cover, you need to be able to just minimize exposure in a way from all the bullets, from all the stuff the enemy team is throwing at you. But the most important idea when we are rotating, when we're trying to get from one position to another, it's trying to avoid the poke, because if you avoid the poke, then you're gonna have more resources. In general, it's really important if you play any mobile character or you play high sustain character. You don't want to allow the enemy team to poke you down a lot, because you want to have that sustain for the actual fight when it's gonna happen. And that is something what we're gonna talk about once I share some examples of the pro guys, how they do everything. I'm gonna focus on those exact ideas a little bit more. So when you're trying to avoid the poke, it's mostly trying to use mobility, using cover when you rotate, and you, in a way, because you have to shoot somebody, right? You have to deal pressure. That means it's good for you to simply think about it. How do I deal with one threat at a time? Ideally. Sometimes it's not possible. Maybe you're gonna be exposed to too many guys. They're just gonna be multiple angles, but ideally try to position in a way so there's just one most important threat you're exposed to. You want to be able to deal with that. All right, let's maybe dive into the example. Also, by the way, I linked some additional materials. You guys can read or watch those later, just the previous classes I talked about. For example, lesson on lane control. This is really relevant to all those topics. How do you move on the map? How do you think about the lanes? So you can also watch it later, but if you gonna have any questions right now, I can also ask those. I can also answer those too. Okay, let's start with this first replay. I prepared a few players. I think it's mostly gonna be DPS and supports, but I also have one tank, I believe. Yeah, we can start with this first, I think. So this one, it's gonna be Phoenix. It's one of the top 100 or even top 50 players at this point of time. So we're just going to start with basically looking at the rotations, what is the best angle they're taking and how they're using cover to start with. And in here, well, it's pretty usual. The usual idea. Phoenix is quite good, I would say, most of the time when you have verticality, when you can try to take this a little bit of not too greedy off angle, I would say, usually taking softer angles, but you're trying to search for the options. Maybe if the map allows you to, you can go deep. Sometimes you can look for the flank, but because you don't have a lot of mobility, you cannot be sitting in the enemy backline like you could do so as Black Panther or maybe Spider-Man. So you have to just come up with softer off angles in general. Yeah, the softer angles. Well, anyway, we see that the player starts rotating. They're just going in on this off angle right away. This is going to be to the left. And also, let me just readjust the camera. Okay, here we go. So most of their team is on the right side while they are on the left side. So they are already rotating in a way which favors their character. We're not thinking about just where... well, who we trying to counter and sort of chase, or what is the best target to shoot, how do I get to the supports in a way. Yeah, you just always starting with the best position possible, and then after that you can figure out what are you going to be shooting. There's more likely to be a chance if they will be contested by, for example, this guy, Freddy on the Spider-Man, or maybe there's gonna be enemy Daredevil. They may contest them. We will be shooting them first, and that's okay. We're just starting with whatever is convenient for us to shoot. Don't chase the targets, just try to come up with the best position possible and go for the best rotation possible. And we can see that because also here we kind of trying to deal with one threat at a time. We don't want to be too exposed to the rest of the enemy team if I simply start shooting the guys up here. Yeah, so maybe you can use the stairs as our cover, maybe we can use even this horizontal structure as our cover. Just lean back so you're not exposed to anyone on the main, even though your teammates are shooting the guys over here. Well, anyway, they have to play sort of a little bit slow because their Groot got picked by the enemy Spider-Man. They just got pulled out of the map, but that's okay. We just start our normal pressure. We started with good off angle, and after that, you always want to notice, how do we keep using cover here? How do we keep rotating from one position to another, from one cover to another? A lot of the times when you're trying to rotate, you will be using your mobility. You may be also using your sometimes it can be sustained with some characters, I would say, but mostly mobility. You're just always going from one cover to another. It just regardless of how do you take space, how do you give up space. You don't want to use your distance, the distance from the character and you as the safe factor. It's always going to be the cover first, and the rotations will dictate that. Yeah, just I like to be in the off angles like this, so I will keep rotating from cover to cover if possible, unless there's a good reason why I'm going to be doing something else. Like, let's say here, they're trying to avoid dying from this Spider-Man who's been sneaking in, which is completely fine. Yeah, we kind of get back closer to our team, but still, we try to search for the cover as an option, so we're not as open to any of the guys in the back here. Yeah, they will not be able to shoot us as easily. So this is quite important. Anyway, they're living now, and just keep up the pressure, keep up the damage. Mostly with the Phoenix, you're also looking for this more of a mid-range off angles in a way. A lot of the times you're not playing too far, let's say it this way. Yeah, anyway, you see how they constantly thinking about just contesting the threat first. Well, I talk about that a lot, that you have to secure the map control first, and then after that you can figure out what do you do on the main. Yeah, there's going to be a good reason for you to not start with the map control right away. Yeah, you usually need to secure the guys, just make sure that you deal with them first, and then after that you can keep going to contesting the main a little bit. All right. By the way, there are also going to be more ideas we'll throw in. We're just starting. Yeah, we're just starting with this simple understanding. Okay, what angle we're taking, what cover we're taking. There are going to be even more complex ideas moving forward. I'm just using this to break down through the lens of this gameplay. But maybe we can also go back to this replay and rewatch it through the lens of the other ideas too. I'm not just throwing in too much info because I don't want to overwhelm you guys too. Alright, so they start with kind of building the pressure from the best angle possible, and then after that we can come up with what are we doing, yeah? So they done the ultimate, yeah, maybe there's just trying to build the pressure and notice how we're moving accordingly to where your teammates are going, and we just need to always come up with the best position possible first, starting with this little off angle over here, keep using the cover, and I think it's a lot about just also keeping an eye on who may contest us too, of course, but we always start with the best position possible, because some players, they tell me, well, I don't start at the best position possible because this guy X whatever character contests me. Well, that's fine that they contest you, but you just need to find a way, how do you deal with them? Maybe you can poke them out early, make sure you constantly track them. Yeah, they may be pretty fast, like the Spider-Man may be pretty annoying to play against. If you, even let's say you're playing support, or you're playing DPS, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just find a way to deal with them, but don't give up the best positions possible, which are suitable for your character. Yeah, you want to be fighting unless there's a good reason why you're not doing that. Maybe the enemy is just throwing in too many resources. Sure, you can start moving towards another position, but most of the time it's going to be exactly that. Yeah, we're trying to just constantly have the good enough reason to give up the position. All right, does everything make sense, guys? Or any questions? Maybe you can unmute and ask if you guys like to.
So don't give up a good position unless it has a better reason to give it up.
Yeah, so I would say, well, good reason, because this may sound a little bit general, right? I usually would say you start with the best position possible in your character, and the good reason to give up the position, it usually involves two factors, in my opinion. It's either you're gonna die, or there's a high chance you may get a kill. That's usually along those things. So obviously there's going to be something else too. Yeah, like more nuanced. But most of the time, that's how you treat it. Yeah, basically that player over here, they've been on the top right. That's really good position in general for their character to hold. Because, well, we like mid-range sightlines. We like verticality as Phoenix. We also like to take those softer off angles. Sometimes flank, maybe. So we start there, but if there's a good reason why do I give up this position, because this guy's heavily pushing me, yeah, I maybe have to drop, and there's an ultimate which supports them in a way, then I do that. Yeah, because we under high risk of dying. So that's completely fine. Or let's say there's a high chance to get a pick. Let's say somebody is, I'm not sure. Well, let's say they're trying to hide in this room, and then you're like, oh, they used everything. They used every single cooldown. They, I don't know, like the Spider-Man actually. They're pretty vulnerable right now. If you can maybe, if they're pretty low, that might be a good reason to just start committing after them a little bit more. They actually partially searching. I think that's why. Yeah, they partially searching for them. You can exactly see that. Yeah, but it's kind of along those things. You getting killed, or you can get a kill. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can move forward. We will get back to this replay again, but yeah, I will just move forward to that ideas because this one's usually hear me a lot talking about the angles anyway in the classes. But yeah, for anyone who's new, guys, by the way, feel free to check out. There's additional materials on the lanes. That is something what I think is important to know as well. You can separate the map on multiple lanes, so you can also use that as the additional help. But start with the basics. Start with just what is the angle, what is the range, and how to avoid the poke from all the guys while using the mobility and rotating. Right, anyway, let's just go forward and talk about the uptime with the rotations. I just called it this way because a lot of the times what I see from the players is when they start rotating, they a lot of the times going forward and then backwards to their teams. So sort of moving from front to back too much, especially if you play dive characters or yeah, I would just say any characters at all, but especially divers. You don't want to waste time to do all of that. So I will give you an example. We kind of, yeah, let's just maybe remove this. So let's imagine for a second that, again, most of your team is going to be at the position A, and they start moving towards the enemy team here. You start rotating from A to B all the way here. And a lot of the times what I see is the players just jump in, they start to pressure the backline, and then they're going back to their team. But they spend so much time to just pressure in and then go out, and then it takes so much time for you to again set up to pressure their backline. You have to walk all the way here or all the way there again to pressure the backline. It just takes a lot of time. So what you can do instead is usually when you pressure the backline, you want to avoid moving. That's what I call the linear rotations. I just always see that the players move in line. For some reason, it becomes more predictable. It's really easy to deal with you. Yeah, just any CC abilities, they can kill you, they can destroy you. So you want to make your rotations non-linear. Yeah, make sure it's not a line. You go somewhere to the left, maybe to the right, and then after that, you can look for the dive. Yeah, usually using those, if we think about it as the main lane in our games in general, then you would use the left lane or the right lane in general, stuff like that. They just always come up with more creative rotations, with non-linear rotations, and you want to escape in the same way too. I will show you example because this may be not as clear. So recently I had a student, we talked about it with them, and I think this is good to show the example of that. They actually changed their rotation pattern and they've been able to climb a little bit more, so that's nice. Let's see. Okay, I got this replay here. I think this is gonna be good to start with. Okay, rotations. Okay, I'm gonna just save this one. Okay, uptime. Yeah, just got it. Okay, here we go. And it's gonna be on Thor, but still, it's maybe not as too mobile character like Venom or maybe I don't know, Spider-Man, but still you have decent amount of mobility, so you can use it to your advantage and you can avoid doing those linear rotations. So I have a few timestamps as well. By the way, I think it's, oh no, it's different map. Okay, I thought it's gonna be the same map, but yeah, it's Meet Down. Okay, so we're starting with, yeah, and by the way, the lobby here, it's Celestial, Eternity, I think, but yeah, mostly Celestial players over here. So this is a real challenge a lot of the times. So let's just start with 241. That's my timestamp pin. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff they do on the Thor. They have quite good uptime. They have quite decent understanding of target priority as well. But a lot of the times there's a problem of if something happens to me, let's say there's one example where they get pulled in to their team, yeah, to the enemy team, just starting from front, and then they went to back all the way here. Yeah, the enemy is trying to punish them with the hook. That's another story. Yeah, you just they being a little bit exposed. You want to be maybe playing closer to cover, just deal with one side at a time, and expect any stuff like this, the Bucky's hook to be thrown at you. You need to be ready to dodge that, ideally. But anyway, let's say this happens. Your rotation a lot of the times looks like this. You're kind of going back to your team, which in theory sounds okay, but at the same time, when I'm walking all the way back here to here, then you're gonna spend a lot of time to just get to pressure their backline again if you want to do so, and that's been their goal most of the time. They try to get to the backline, which is okay, by the way. With this composition, you either get to the backline or you can trap the tanks as well. You can kind of use shift and pull them in towards your core, towards the kill zone in a way. Yeah, maybe we can keep trapping them, but it depends. It depends on your position. You need to start with the positioning first. Yeah, take the best position possible. So they kind of go back, which in theory may make sense, but see, there's additional time they spend because they rotate in a line. You rotate in a line, you're making it so much easier for those guys to aim at you and deal with you. You always want to keep throwing off this guy's aim so they start paying attention to you. But if they start paying attention to you at the same time, the rest of your core can do a little bit more. And another thing is, you also making it easy for you to get back to the fight. So what they should be doing is, yeah, exactly like I showed there, instead of going all the way here, they could be going up on this ledge and pick their teammates and get healed. Or maybe we can start going, well, in theory, maybe we can get to this corner, but I think it's a little bit too far. Yeah, because Thor Hammer is not like... No, you can be mobile if you charge it. Yeah, you can kind of reach here, but I think it takes time. If you use it instantly, you cannot get from here to here, all this distance. Well, anyway, you just always need to come up with non-linear rotations as much as possible if the map allows you to. So that's example number one. Yeah, if we're gonna play forward, you will see them doing that a little bit more sometimes. You just when they start their pressure, I think it's gonna be just 30 seconds more forward, okay, because their team is also slightly staggered here, that we need to get back in the fight. That's understandable. Okay, now we're back in the fight, doing early awaken, and that's completely fine. Now we start the pressure, we do a little bit more on the front line here, but you see, the problem is when the enemy and, well, your team also starts the pressure, you see the way we're trying to escape, we're trying to rotate. I think it's especially will show later. Let me actually just play a little bit more forward, so you will get a full idea. So see, they start the pressure, they go from the front line to their front line right now, it seems. Yeah, they just keep rushing the tank. Why? Because the Cloak and Dagger is using ultimate. We can maybe skip the rules in a way. We can skip controlling the off angle, so we don't have to get up here instantly and to pressure the back line. We can just kind of keep walking forward. Let's put it this way. But you see, after that, once they done the pressure, the enemy answers with something, just answers the pressure, and see, they go back all the way here again using double dash. It takes so much time. Yeah, so again, same thing. Just go over here, and you can also contest the guys like this guy. Yeah, maybe you can contest the Moon Knight early, or you can also drop in the backline afterwards. Yeah, you trying to avoid those linear rotations. Wasn't a way to low rank game? You mean, oh, you're talking about this one? Yeah, 29 minutes, yeah. It's indeed very a long game, but it shows, whenever you guys have the long games like this, I think it shows there's something to learn from it. Whenever those close games and, you know, you've done your best, I usually tell students, okay, bring me that game where you try to best, but it was just really a long game for whatever reason, and yeah, close game, let's put it this way.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah?
So I know you said that normally you don't want to walk just in a straight line
Mhm.
and take the off angles, but if you're on a character that likes to like grab people, so like Angela, Thor, would you still want to just do that, but just at the end go linear backwards?
Yeah, so with well, with Thor, it's more obvious, right? You have some mobility, but let's say Emma, because you don't have as much mobility to rotate, right? The Thor, I think it's pretty clear, yeah? We can still be going towards left, right, kind of non-linear way. We don't have to spend all the time to go back to here. But with Emma, well, you still doing the same, but you just gotta keep in mind that Well, is a basic idea. You shouldn't use distance as save factor, yes. So to speak, again, if I use the distance to walk like this, and it doesn't matter what the character you're using for that, it's not good idea as the first priority. What you gotta be thinking about is, first, what is that most suitable cover I can reach, right? So all this time, let's just go back and see. So the display here, they started to go from all the way from here, right? So let's just point it out. Yeah, the first location's been here. The second location, once they start using dash again, is going to be over here, right? So second, yeah, somewhere around here. So the reached corner, number 3. But from here, I can already reach the cover, which is over here. Or I can also reach the cover, which is over here. Of course, you gotta keep in mind where the rest of your team is, what are they doing, and where the enemy is, so you will not get poked down. But you're always trying to reach the closest cover possible while doing it in less linear way. And let's say I would be Emma. Well, in this case, you start giving up the space, but you not always just walk backwards. You go to the closest cover possible. So let's say, I don't know, let's say I'm playing, because there's enemy Emma, right? Let's say they had to walk back. Yeah, they had to give up the space. Well, instead of me just walking all the way like this, I can be going towards this left room, hold this a little bit. And then I can be, I don't know, using this doorway or something. Well, this doorway is not as convenient. But yeah, let's say like this cover over here and hold the choke instead of walking all the way back to over here. There's just a lot of small stuff like that you can do. You don't have to use the distance as save factor most of the time. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, does it make sense?
So, in a sense, always find a way to rotate to a corner non-linearly.
Yeah, well, maybe if you really simplify it, yeah, because this whole idea, I just call it nonlinear rotation. Yeah, you can kind of break it down on on multiple variables. Yeah, you can first start with thinking about what is that next cover I'm moving towards, and the second is the movement. It's usually, well, let's maybe actually write it down for us, so we're gonna have it here on the list. Yeah, so I mentioned stop moving from front to back, set up on your angle, engage, go back to another angle. Well, there's another layer, but yeah, the most important is go from cover to cover. That's one thing. We're doing that constantly. Well, let's just say even go from your position, because you're not necessarily around the cover. You just somewhere in the open sometimes too. Let's say you get hooked in, that happens. You go from your position to cover, and typically, most of the time, you don't want to be using your W key or S key to use it as save factor, but go left to right first. You just come up with, okay, I go a little bit to the left and I'm trying to hide myself. Going a little bit to the right instead of giving up too much space. Yeah, so let's say do not use distance. Just instead, we're gonna be walk left, right, something like that, along those numbers, because a lot of the times I always see people, for some reason, they give up a lot of the space. Like we see here, yeah, this guy, they don't have to give up a lot of space, and in reality, because they give up a lot of the space, they use distance as save factor. What happens to them is they get caught by the other guys. Yeah, they get caught by the ammo ultimate. Well, it's possible to do, right? Because we are going in this constant direction back using the distance. Yeah, I don't know. This I hope that makes sense. Yeah, just
I have a question
yeah.
actually. If you like have the ability to like get up on high ground, you could also do this, right? Instead of going back. Like, for example, if you're like playing rogue, just go on the building on the left or right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Or do you have any follow up? Or
That's it. I just wanted because like most of the times going up like does not necessarily mean like breaking LOS or something.
Yeah,
It doesn't make.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're right. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
All right. No, I'm done.
Okay. No, but this idea is pretty universal. If you guys have any sort of mobility, I'm using Thor as an example, but I also see that we talked about that with Magic players. There's Arthur in this class already. We also talked about it as well. You a lot of the times don't have to do this. Or maybe we talked about that with Hulk player. Okay, you don't have to always jump back to your team unless you're trying to shield them or something like that. But yeah, there's more niche situations when you really have to. Also, let me see. Game. Okay, I clipped this because the flank worked and it was funny, but therefore this flank is hard to pull off, and I focus on trying maintaining free space on the high ground. Yeah, that makes sense. How would you rotate here? Okay. Yeah, I can watch it. I can watch it later. Just give me. Yeah, just let's maybe finish with this. I will watch it later too. Yeah, but like you said, if you're trying to come up with the flank routes, I think, yeah, from what I see in the clip, you're playing Penny over here. Yeah, it's quite nice if you're able to hold the space just like that. You're not all going back all the way, but you're trying to maintain a little bit of an enclosed space going. You like the rooms, you like the buildings, and a lot of the times you're not necessarily falling back to your team all the way here. Yep. Stuff like that. So it's pretty much universal rule, but the more mobility you guys have, the more important it is. That's how I would put it. Hope that makes sense. Okay, let me just show you the good example of what I also found in the in some matches. I think I have this. Yeah, there's gonna be Tanuki. Yeah, Tanuki. They've been pretty good at this stuff, the rotation stuff, in my opinion. Obviously, sometimes they get punished. Sometimes maybe the enemy teams heavily focus them whatsoever. But oh, sorry, what was that? Oh, okay. I just there was a little noise. I thought someone asked the question. Okay, let's move forward. That example with Thor though, does everything did everything make sense so far, or any additional questions?
So instead of imagining distance as a safe factor,
Mhm.
take the objects around you as the safe factor because that's more reliable.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say so. And, there's more advanced idea also, and I have it written here. You kind of not necessarily have to, well, your first exercise will be is going from your position to cover. Yeah, maybe do not use distance, but kind of walk left, right first, search for the off angles. Yeah, but you also need to come up with just moving from one off angle to another, and this is a little bit more complicated thing, but it's along the same lines. You just always based on how the flow of the fight is, how the tempo of the fight is. For example, you see that a lot of the dive characters are really good with that. Like, where do I go next? Where do I let's say I dive the backline. Where do I go next? Well, maybe I can just try to go to another off angle, which makes it easy for me to set up simply. Wall shield you can see past. Break most times, can be seen element of surprise. Yeah, you mean, yeah, you talking about, wait, you talking about this here, or you relate to the clip?
No, he was talking about the distance not being a safe factor, the walls being, and I was like, yeah, it's just if you're behind a wall, you can't be shot unless they break the wall, but like that's only some of the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're just much safer if you can't be shot than if you can be.
Yeah, exactly.
I got shit. Fuck me, no, man.
Wait, you got what, sorry?
I forgot. I was about to ask something and I forgot it completely.
It's okay. It's okay. If you can ask the question later. That's all good. All right, let's start with this example though. So I brought this. I think Tanuki has been from what I watched, they've been doing quite well on the flankers most of the time. I just wanted to use this example. Daredevil, same map actually, just found it for us. So the idea of if we started on that suitable off angle for us, the best position. And by the way, with Daredevil, what most of the time you're looking for is going to be more flanky positions. You come in from behind, short range. Just make sure you time the pressure with the rest of your team. Once everyone is ready, you can go. You're trying to scout. By the way, the using walls, like obviously there's this walls like something we can break, right? So just that is something you guys can keep in mind too. Yeah, whenever I tell you, use cover as your shield. Yeah, in a way you will be protected here, but always you need to understand what the structure is going to be destructible, what is going to be exactly protect you the most reliable way. But yeah, anyway, you see them, they're not breaking the wall, they're waiting until something happens when they're ready to dive the backline, when the rest of their team is ready, and after they look for the dive. After this, the most reliable thing to do is most of the time not go back to your team unless there's a good reason why you do that. Yeah, but if you're able to, you usually go towards somewhat of a off angle again. Yeah, like maybe I can again walk here, or I can just regain the room and start walking from here because uptime. Yeah, I don't have to spend all that time to go back. And you see them doing that exactly. You see how they're rotating and non-linear movement. Yeah, so linear movement again. That would be them going in from here all the way to here in a line. Easy to shoot, and you're just not protected at all, even though you feel like, oh, I need to get healed, but to get healed, you need to get in line of sight of your team, right? And you can go left, you can go right, and this is going to be less linear movement, yeah? You just starting with this off angle, and you started with off angle, right? And then you went to another off angle. You done the engagement, and now you can pressure again. This is much more reliable, right? Yeah, zigzagging from
Would this
angle to angle.
philosophy?
Mhm.
I was gonna ask, would this philosophy still apply to like Venom, who mostly like swings through main
I would say so.
after his initiation?
I would
Okay.
say so. If you can, obviously this he is pretty like he can cover a lot of distance, but I'm thinking if you able to, if the map allows you to, why not? This is a good idea. Just make sure you're not getting poked down though. Yeah, this is the even more important idea I talked about here. When you're rotating, you need to keep using cover and keep avoiding the poke. If you're heavily getting poked down, then well, something's off. Yeah, maybe the map is not allowing you to do so. Maybe the map is really open. If yes, then sometimes you have to make it all the way back. But mostly this is a good idea to follow. Good direction. Like whatever I'm talking about, the off angles, all of this stuff, it's just good direction to follow, but there are gonna be some exception rules as well. So yeah, it's important to know. When I'm done from off angle. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah?
If you like down main, right, and like you want to like get out of a sticky situation, and the straight way would be shorter, but like it's like more dangerous, or you like could use the payload as cover, but for that you actually have to go deeper at first. Would this still make sense?
Can you? Okay, so I fully understand. Can you elaborate? Maybe I think I don't.
Like some payloads are like really like break, so you can actually hide behind them,
this
like
part
the new
understood.
one.
Yeah.
So if you like down main and like getting like forced out, would it and the way to your team is like shorter, but like it's really open and like would probably kill you, or you go a bit deeper to get to the payload as cover and then go to an off lane to like exit, or risk the short way. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, because this one is more nuanced, right? I understand, especially as the tank. Yeah, it's more important. But you know, you need to come up with what is going to be better resource trade for you in the long term. Yeah, at the end of the day, if I have to rotate from cover to cover, yeah, from payload as a cover or whatsoever, it doesn't matter. But if I get a lot of resources for us, then maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe I have to do something else. It really depends on situation, I would say. We have to look at the exact example, right? Sometimes there's one choice is, okay, you can start walking out. Sometimes you can regain it. But I would, as the first priority for average player, yeah, I'm not talking about like high rank, like more nuanced stuff, but it's just, I would always start with find ways to remain the space where you're trying to hold, where most of your team is trying to hold. Yeah, and you need to come up with the best angle possible meanwhile. Yeah, like the best angle which is suitable to your kit. Like we're talking about Daredevil, we can flank a lot. I go from one off angle to another. Great. Yeah, with someone, I don't know, like Black Panther is also the same. Maybe even Thor, you still can do off angles, just not as greedy compared to those guys, right? So this one depends. I hope that makes sense, but yeah, I guess it depends on situation. Maybe we can look at the replay. Let me see.
All right.
Oh yeah?
No, I was saying no about.
Yeah, but this definitely, because the game, there's a lot of nuance. I think this definitely depends on the situation. Also, let me read what Arthur wrote down, and also I see. Okay, legit Wolfcake. I was more thinking about him getting out at his dive. Like after I go swing, I just go to the next off angle. Yes, in my opinion, I usually go deeper if I know there's a health pack nearby. Yeah, exactly. Health pack also can give you additional direction. because you have more sustainability on the off angle, right? Sustainability, it's all about, like, when players ask me, how do I stay alive on the off angle? Yeah, how do I stay alive when I'm rotating at my positions? Just do it as a check marks. Okay, you have those triggers. Let's say I'm just gonna write down. The first thing is cover. Do I have cover? Check mark. Do I have the best angle possible? This is also the question you want to ask. So all of it involves how deep you're going. Yeah, let's just say angle plus range. Yeah, it's how deep you're going, what's the range you play at, all of that stuff. HP pack is another thing. And one more is line of sight. Line of sight on your team, but it's not the most reliable thing, but still it's a check mark. Yet, if you have all of that, and you're using it to your full extent, that should allow you to survive. Yeah. Also, the question is, how do you manage your resources? How do you use your cooldowns? Your resources are allowing you to stay on the angle in a way, because you have mobility, because you have sustain, you can protect yourself. Yeah. So that's the big questions. Okay, the bigger reason he is going out to main is because it's more open for swinging and quicker to get support healing, and I choose from there, like swinging into off angles. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. There's definitely there's a lot of nuance to it, I feel like. But yeah, most of the time we're following the rules here. So we watch the Tanuki, they went from off angle, now they're not off angle, being patient, waiting, and now we go for the little dive and go back to an angle again. We don't waste time going back all the way. Yeah, we just keep fighting over here, which is quite nice. Yeah, I'm not gonna even talk about the micro here. Yeah, obviously we're just trying to use our vision, we're trying to search what is the most suitable target. But see, the patience a lot of the times is gonna be the key. Using the off angles for the high uptime is the key, even though it seems like, you see how long they're waiting right now. You see, and a lot of the times people tell me, well, but what if I don't pressure, my team dies because I don't protect them, especially as the tank players too. Sometimes you may hear it as well, because I'm taking those off angles, my team is dead. But in reality, what are you doing? How you protecting your team is through applying pressure. First off, as a tank main myself too, I can 100% guarantee it's most of the time you have to set up your own pressure first, and you pressure the enemy team. They're really scared of you. You absorb the pressure, and then your team lives. Yeah, obviously this DPS here, so they're gonna do a lot of damage, but still the idea is the same. Yeah, we're partially protecting our team because they have to be aware. They're really scared of you. They're scared of you to do anything, and that's why they will be more hesitant to push. Now, we see what is the good reason for us to keep staying on the main, right? We have good kills opportunity. Yeah, there's a good ultimate. We have this great combo over here. Well, let's follow up. Let's just keep fighting. Let's get kills. Also, let me see. The question mark. Is it for me legit, or or is it for Arthur? Okay, let me see. Oh, do you like the small uptime ticks that he did from one side to the other? Are you asking me? Yeah.
Yeah, it was right before that fight started. He like jumped down, just hit the strange like 3 times, and then climbed to the other high ground. I was like, what?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you meant by uptake? That's what I was confused about. Like, what I didn't know what uptake meant.
Yeah, it was like he just like dropped down, swung 3 times, and then just climbed up a different wall. I was like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of small stuff like this. It's always I feel like very satisfying to watch. But once you know, I always feel like if you know fundamentals, you can always polish it to all the small mechanics, all the small stuff, to this the best possible way. So it's fine. Like most of it comes down to this though. Yeah, you know fundamentals is gonna go okay. You just polish the other stuff obviously, but yeah. Okay, anyway, they start with the off angle, start with the left side again. Well, a lot of the patience, so I'll just skip a little bit, and then they start the pressure. Okay, this one is actually going to be interesting because they will have to give up the space at some point, I believe. Yeah, they start rotating, get a little bit healing here, and one thing to mention as well, though, is you may expect people to contest you. Yeah, so people will be looking for you. For example, they have, I don't know, there's going to be someone like Phoenix, or maybe there's going to be Star-Lord. Yeah, they may contest you because they also like to take those off angles. So also know how to deal with them. Yep, but most of the time it's just constant rotation, going from one off angle to another, one off angle to another. And there's going to be good reason why we constantly we go back all the way. Like, see here, they're being patient. Well, maybe if they get pushed heavily, they may die, but at least you're searching for the opportunities to do something. Yeah, there's might be an opening from here, a great uptime constantly. Yeah, I feel like we covered quite a lot here with the rotations by using this example, but yeah, it's mostly about this. Let me see. Any questions? He got 1% ult from it. I do feel like even when I create pressure and get a pick, my team still ends up dying. Yeah, well, the question is, it's first off the quality of the pressure, and are you doing all that pressure in relation to what your team is doing? Like, let's say I do really well, well, I give you an analogy. Let's say you get like 4 people, but your entire team is dead, right? It's just not gonna be. It will not make too much of a difference, right? So maybe it can be the timing issue. It can be something else. Sometimes you do your best. You do the best with the timing, with all the other stuff. Your team still loses the fight. It's fine. It happens too. But if you notice, it's the pattern. If your teammates are constantly losing, even though you think that you implement everything to your the best possible way, then something is off. Yeah, something's gonna be off probably. But sometimes it may happen. Trust me. Okay, I think it was good. Use his shorter cooldowns to reposition, to better angle and recharge his rage resource. Yeah. I play dive characters and I see it happens a lot. It happened a lot. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. But the dive characters, you have to understand that you're looking for the traits. You're looking for the traits with, especially if they also play diver. It just all comes down to who hits harder and who survives better. Who is bad at managing the resource. If you're bad at managing your resource, shouldn't be the problem in the long term. Shouldn't be. Like, we had the same matters in Overwatch. We had the same, like, even when I've been coaching, like, tier 2 team, there's been a dive meta. We just been trading the backlines all the time. Yeah, or, like, this game as well. Yeah, the divers, it doesn't matter. But if this happens, if you notice your team is gonna fully lose, then might be something is off with. Probably the timing, maybe the quality. But, yeah, don't fixate on that too much, though. I'm OTP Angela most of the time. If this happens, I go in too late or too soon. Yeah. This one, the timing is so crucial. If you guys play any dive characters, it's so important. All right. Also, another thing to add here, it's a small detail. I will not dive in too much on it, but this one is important. If you guys play against any sniper, against any sort of big burst damage, if enemy knows where you are, you need to change your angle and reposition. Simple as that. We don't care how you do that. We don't care, and that's why partially this is important to move in non-linear rotations. Yeah, if I keep staying at the positions where it's really predictable, and like I keep using the same angle all the time, then I will get hit by the big burst eventually. Yeah, like let's say there's a sniper, there's a widow, there's a Hawkeye. If they know where you are, if the big burst damage knows where you are, you just need to change your angle slightly. It's either you use your cooldown and reposition, or you peek differently by, I don't know, for example, this character, you can wall climb. Yeah, and if there's a big damage which is about to hit you, you can always take advantage of it. Yep, all that stuff. And that's why Thor, I mentioned my student, well, you don't have to move this way because there's a high chance that the big burst damage can constantly hit you. But instead, I'm trying to reposition and go, let's say, up left, or I can also go up right. Yeah, all of that stuff, because the big burst knows where you are. Big burst damage knows where you are. Okay, let's reposition. Change the angle slightly. All right. Let's maybe get to the last theory idea, because it's going to be also relevant to us. So, yeah, I have to mention tempo, understanding of the tempo. And I had a class on that, full tempo class. You can click on that and watch that. But most of it, in my opinion, is going to be understanding, are you playing fast or are you playing slow? And especially important if you, well, it's important for anyone, to be honest, but especially if you're playing tank, you're sort of controlling the flow of the fight, when to engage, when to disengage. I would say it's important. You have to always track the amount of people you have alive, amount of ultimates, what ultimates being used right now, what cooldowns are being used, stuff like that, and then rotate accordingly. So, for example, here, I have this replay. let's maybe look at the support one. The support one, you have the good overview on the fight. So you always, if you're good at understanding the tempo, then you know when to start healing your team, when to start dealing the damage as well. Yeah, it just all comes down to that. Okay, so again, for the Syria, just keep it simple. To my students and anyone, I just always tell, because I want them to be proactive, I tell them, play fast. It's all about you are using an advantage you have on the map. And playing slow, it's to build an advantage. So you're not just suddenly playing too passive, right? It's just searching for ways to build an advantage. And typically, if we're talking about rotations, yeah, if we're looking at the tempos through the lens of rotations, playing slow means give up space, or sometimes can be hold the position. Yeah, I'm just gonna also phrase it this way, yeah? Hold the position, hold the space around where you are, and playing fast, you're gonna be going forward, rotating. But still do it in the way like we suggested here. Yeah, you don't want to go on the line, maybe try to go from one off angle to another, if possible, stuff like that. Okay, let's maybe look at this here. We got, yeah, so we got Loki. Okay, let me see. What kind of advantages are you playing for when playing slow? Yes, that's a good question. So this is how I phrase it. First off, we can have positional advantage. That's one. Maybe if I'm playing slow, I can get better off angle because there's a downtime. Let's say my entire team is dead for whatever reason. Well, I don't have to walk back all the way to spawn. Maybe if I'm still able to, I can set up my best positions possible, get in the back line, sit there, be patient, especially if you not get noticed. That's nice. That's number one thing. Second, cooldowns being used. So we are, if we're trying to play slow, yeah, but I talked about it in tempo class, but yeah, you can also dive into that later, guys. But yeah, the cooldowns, you regaining the cooldowns. You're regaining whatever the cooldowns you have, most of those at least, and then you're going in the fight. You're playing slow to regain the cooldowns. And ultimates, it's another factor. You may build ultimate, play slower for that. Yeah, some people, that's why they say, okay, let's play for that ultimate. Let's play for Invis. Let's play for Clock and Dagger and build them. That means we're playing slower, but we're building an advantage. Yeah, we're not going in, we don't have an advantage yet with the ultimate or whatsoever, but we're building it. That's how I'm phrasing it, at least. I know that people out there, they may also phrase it in another way, but I like to phrase it this way. Play fast to play slow. This way. Okay, let me see. I think timing is one of the hardest skills. Yeah, for sure. Just look for when both front lines engage each other. That's what I do. Yeah, it's a good point. Front lines, I would just recommend start by tracking one of your tanks. Simply start tracking whatever the tank, and maybe as additional layer you start tracking the tank which complements you more. Let's say you're playing dive character. Okay, look after your dive tank, because they're more likely to dive the same space as you. You start tracking them, they engage, you engage. They take initial pressure, they're meant to do so, you go based off that. Yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Well, then your team gets to walk and shoot them in the back. Yeah, let me see, what was that? I don't know if that's simple, things they sometimes disengage and give up space on either side, which can mess you over. Yeah, well, you exactly have to track. You have to track the tempo. You have to see and track the at downtime. Just keep getting the information downtime. All right. Anyway, let's just go over this a little bit. Let's see how the Sape is adjusting based on the tempo. What are they doing? So right now, how should they play? They should be playing slow. And the rotations, if we're talking about the rotations, it should be dictating it in a way that we gotta be either holding the position where we are, or we're trying to give up the space, typically. Yeah, because they will lose this Wolverine player over there, yeah? So they kind of keep holding the choke over here. They're not moving too much. Your rotations will not be too aggressive. Obviously, you do all the stuff with the healing, with the maybe your sustain too. By the way, you're more likely to use your lamp in this case too. If the enemy is heavily pressuring you, when you're playing slow, you're more likely to just stabilize your team. But you have to judge. If there's a big investment on your teammate side, yeah, then you will do that. But anyway, they started with slow, but now our teammate is back, the blade is back. on Wolverine. Now we can start pushing, and we see that our rotation is going to be accordingly to how our team is going. Now the time is, because when we start entering the space here, yeah, we can say, okay, we can use that advantage. Now we got some positional advantage. Our front line is more forward. We have DPS being able to be here. Okay, that's nice. We're also maybe pushing back the enemy team a little bit, and now we can start taking space soon. Yeah, obviously here they also try to use this time, yeah, because it's not just take the space right away. You have to fight for it. You have to confirm it. I usually like to say, you take the space, right? But then after that, you need to confirm it. You just have to control that, get in full control of the space, and after that, you can be using that to your advantage and maybe repeat taking the next space. So here they just need to claim it first, and after that, they will be moving in fully. Yeah, but once they claimed it, they will be more likely to push up and take a little bit more space, especially if there's a pick. Yeah, there are 2 picks right now. Okay, that means this is a signal, additional signal for us to move forward. But a lot of the times I may see people sitting in the back a little bit too much, yeah, or rotating too fast for no reason. Obviously, this is support, so this is going to be more of we're trying to kind of be in the back line, using the long range off angles, kind of soft off angles too most of the time. But yeah, anyway, you're trying to maintain long range most of the time is Loki, but still you acting depending on how the fight is gonna be, how the tempo of the fight is. Yeah, let me read the questions. Yeah, there's so many. Well, there's so many messages at least. Okay, if your team comes, hit leave. If not, then you die. Well, if you're talking about the communication with your tanks, I wouldn't recommend. At least in rank. I would just go based on the information. Look at the information first. You can calm, but it's additional. It's kind of in addition. If yes, sure. If they communicating, that's nice. If not, just go based on the info and see what's happening there. All right. Anyway, let's watch one more fight at least and see what's gonna happen with the tempo. So the fight is over. For example, the fight is over. What we should be doing? Well, most of it is going to be, we should try to gain that space. Yeah, we should try to, if we're playing fast, that means we can take space typically. We can try to push more forward, and that's what they will be doing there. Exactly. Yeah. So they were not sitting in cart whatsoever. Like some people that they sit like all of the people, they just sit on the cart. No, at least try to gain your good sideline. Yeah, as Loki, you need long range sideline. As let's say Elsa, you need kind of short to mid-range sideline. As Magneto, you need mid-range sideline. That's why we're over here. As Venom, you need short sideline eventually, so you get even closer eventually. And Blade, the same. Yeah, the Wolverine is the same stuff. Okay, so you just come up with the best positions possible and move. I have comms off. Well, that's fine. Well, as long as communication is not affecting your performance, that's good. I mean, communicating is good, but make sure the performance is solved first. How the comms hurt to win rate though? It shouldn't hurt you by the big margin, to be honest. If you, on average, shouldn't. Well, I even did experiment, like people, I remember, there's been early seasons of Overwatch, people told me that it's not possible to carry without comms on tank, and like reach top of 100 on tank. And I was just, okay, let me try. And I one-tricked. I think I one-tricked Reinhardt at that point, and yeah, I did. So I just been playing without the comms non-stop. Well, and I didn't know about a lot of stuff back in the days, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of test it and see, okay, like, is it really like, because I did like communicate a lot, but yeah, it's just always the case. The performance is like 99% of the value in your games. Do you want to be fighting for crowd space while hold ridiculously far up? Because tempo. Because why not? Yeah, we basically, because if we have a chance to get a pick and punish the enemy, that is really good. And at the same time, we have time to come back and rotate back around the space where the card is uncontested. Yeah, I think I talked about it in the other classes a little bit, but this can also be included in this part of the class, the rotations. You're sort of thinking about it this way. Let's maybe I'm thinking, where do we put it? Yeah, let's just think about it this way. When you have this time before the fight starts. I call that poke phase. Poke phase is just both teams are really far from each other. You have time to just gain space, you have time to get early picks. So whenever you have the time during the poke phase, you usually need to move up forward and gain whatever the advantage you have. If you had that one before, yeah, gain better position, gain, yeah, I would say better space, just better power positions whatsoever. And then when the real fight starts, when the brawl phase starts, which is going to be around the card, then prepare for it again. But usually you have time to sneak in the pressure in the poke phase. Basically, let's give you an example. Let's say you will be using any of your Magneto bubbles right now, for whatever reason. Like, let's say I use my Magneto team bubble when the enemy team is really far. It doesn't affect me too much, because I get it back when the real fight starts, right? So you're just sneaking in a little bit more value this way. There's no point on staying on card, never. You always need to secure the space around and see how you can work around it. Okay, let me see. Is there anything else? Play more NA. Okay, that's fine. How was your pick back then? Who was your pick? You talking about the? Are you asking me, Loco, or are you asking anyone else? Oh, okay. Well, you guys can unmute and ask the questions. I lost. Off character. Oh, Overwatch. Yeah, I think I said it. Yeah, I've been playing Reinhardt quite a lot back in the days, and then when I started to play in the team, I've been playing Winston, a little bit of Orisa, a little bit of Ball, but yeah, most of it is gonna be this. Most have been Reinhardt one trick.
Happy.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I had Ball. I'm happy.
Sorry, I think I didn't hear.
I heard Ball. I am happy. I'm a Ball one chicken.
Oh, okay, I got it. Sorry. Yeah, I just have the chat a little bit lower. It's slower sound. Sorry. Okay, now, yeah, the Ball is quite interesting. I feel like you have so much flexibility there. Just what you can do, where you can go, and that's the point exactly. If you have the mobility with the characters during this time, when the tempo allows you to do so, when you can play fast, just take the space. Yeah, take advantage of it. Maybe you will be able to get an early pick. Maybe you will be able to just scout the information. Yeah, whatever the advantage you can sneak in. Well, anyway. We see their team is holding far up. We don't need to be there, though. We just need to have the sideline and support them. But yeah, this is always a good idea. Because we're securing the space here, and if we need later, we're going to be moving back to card. Just have most of our cooldowns ready. If you ever get forced to use your cooldowns before the brawl phase starts, then this is the problem. But you exactly need to just have this nice balance, and it should be fine. Okay, let me see. Reinhardt? Yeah. Well, you mean Ball? Yeah, okay, it seems like they did, yes. Okay, alright. Let's keep watching. Well, you guys, I've been playing a lot of DPS as well. I've been playing a lot of Tracer. Been playing a lot of Tracer on Overwatch. For support, it's been mostly Zenyatta. Because I just wanted to test all the roles. Well, anyway, so if we're talking about the tempo here, yeah, rotations accordingly to the tempo, watching what ultimate is being used, what's active at the moment, and then we can decide, do we move forward, do we move back? Maybe it seems a little bit simple, right? But it can save your life, it can save your teammates' life a lot of the times. Yeah, it may seem like they sort of existing on this long range and this main lane forever, but all of it has the purpose. Yeah, I move a little bit back if the enemy has the tempo, and at the same time we can answer without defensive if they commit. So we see here the thing overcommits. Our mag is critical right now, so we can start doing something with our lamp over here. Yeah, we can start committing it. We're sort of baiting this guy to do something. And we saying, okay, let's play slow. Yeah, let's maybe just regain the advantage. We heal this mag up, and after that, maybe we can do the damage to this thing as well. That's quite nice. Yep, so we kind of trap him in our space, in a way. Obviously, you have to keep an eye. You have to keep an eye who is gonna take more damage. So you always... You just can't negate that pressure. Well, anyway, after the fight develops, we start pushing. They start initiating with our ultimate. That's not a bad idea in ranked games most of the time. Just start doing something, start forcing the stuff from the enemy team. And now their team have tempo. The Cyber team have tempo. They can push, walk forward. And now this is the time when you have poke phase. And what do you do in a poke phase? Well, you have to scout early. You can do a little bit of pressure before the fight starts. And you see, they exactly do that. By the way, I also had the class on the how to play poke characters. I talked a lot about how to sneak in the pressure in the poke phase, what brawl phase means, but I think I'm more likely to also do the full class on how to play the entire composition, the poke comps in general, because I've been just mostly covering the characters ideas. But yeah, anyway. Early pressure during the poke phase is important. Yeah, you have the tempo. You can be doing something with your rotations early like that. Just early damage, and then later on, you can get back in the actual fight, prepare for the brawl phase. Yeah, you have to understand the tempo. The tempo gives you that additional layer that, okay, because I have the advantage, I can push forward. We have a disadvantage, we can pull back. All of that stuff. Okay, I think we mentioned almost everything. Yeah, I mentioned most of the series. Well, there can be more layers into that as well, but I kind of got over the most important ones. So we got map control, we got uptime, non-linear routes. I feel like is a lot of the times underused one, and also knowing how to play around the big burst damage maybe. But yeah, we didn't focus on that too much, but maybe we'll do it later. And understanding of the tempo. Understand, you play fast, you play slow. If you're playing fast, take space, play slow, you give up space, or hold it, and usually you need to understand that advantage or disadvantage can be based on all those factors here. It is the most fundamental ones. Yep. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Any final questions for today?
Just to make sure I understand when you're saying play slow, play fast, you're playing slow so you can play fast in the future, and you're playing fast so you can play slow in the future, right?
Well, it's playing fast. Well, I wouldn't say you have to play fast so you can play slow. Ideally, we always want to have... we always want to have opportunity to play fast at some point. Let's put it this way, yeah? So this is kind of the main purpose. We're kind of trying to build an advantage eventually. That's the most... yeah, that's our purpose. With whatever we're doing, with ultimates, with cooldowns, with positions, our goal should be playing fast. Yeah, the goal... It shouldn't be like play slow. Yeah, play slow is just the state. It's the state of the game sometimes when you're trying to build an advantage. That's how I would phrase it. Does it make sense, or?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so you start building an advantage, and that's it. If you can keep using that, that's nice. That's how I would phrase it. Because, again, this term, the tempo, is a lot of the times it can be... you may hear from the other coaches. I don't know. I never heard, at least the Marvel Rivals creators, talk about it too much. But yeah, in Overwatch, there's been pretty, like... there's been a lot of... how would put it? A lot of people have different opinions of how to phrase all of this, but I find it the more useful direction to go with, because it sets you to be more proactive in a way. Because when I play in a team, I always hear, okay, here are the comms, let's play fast. That means usually, okay, we're walking forward, we're doing the action, we're doing something, but it doesn't mean that you have to show all your cooldowns when you're playing fast. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you kind of just have to always, I don't know, just to use everything at once. Yeah, you kind of using the advantage. Yes, you're playing fast, you usually take space, but it doesn't mean that you show in everything, because you may lose the fight later or something like that. So I would like to phrase it this way. Yeah, play fast, okay, use an advantage, but playing slow, you also set this more proactive way of thinking and building an advantage. Just start thinking it with, how do you build an advantage? What is based on? Yeah, maybe even doing that early damage before the fight. It kind of, well, we sort of transition from, we started playing fast, yeah, we started playing to take the space, we use that advantage, and then here we transition to the stage where it's gonna be 6v6 eventually. So we start playing slow in a way because we have to build an advantage, but we now, because we've been playing fast before, it's easier for us to play slow, if that makes sense, because now it's it's better position. If he would be in the cart, if he would be not at the best possible angle, then it's harder for you to start building an advantage, to start playing slow properly, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's definitely there are connections to all of this. If you play it fast in okay way, then you will more likely to be able to play slow in a better way later as well. I don't know. This all of it is connected, but yeah, it's just I would start with this. Just understanding of the space helps a lot. How do you give up space? How do you take space? Do you hold space right now? Go based on that. Okay. Yeah, do you guys have any more questions? Oh, I see Loco. I think you play slow to build an advantage. Yeah, exactly. When you don't have one, but you play fast to push the advantage you built up. Yeah. I would like to phrase it this way, honestly. There could be more variations of it, but I think that's a good start. Okay. Do you guys have any more questions about anything, or?
Yeah, is an advantage considered like pulling attention from like supports or something?
Does one more time? Can you repeat that one more time?
Could advantage
Put
be
advantage.
considered like pulling attention from like a DPS or like a support or even a tank? So if they like look at me and not at the team. Or is this like...
Well, this partially can be, yeah. Like, let's say, yeah, this is the parts of building an advantage for sure. If I take better position, and like, for example, we described with Tanuki, yeah, they've been taking better off angles. They've been rotating from one off angle to another because the attention's been put on you. You started playing slow in a way, yeah? By the way, there's idea of like you look for the soft dive to bait out stuff, and then you look for the hard dive later. But anyway, like usually when you're trying to play slow, you look for the soft dive, bait out the resources, you start to play slow, attention goes to you, that's also part of it. And afterwards, because a lot of the cooldown's been forced out, we can play fast. We can hard engage. Yeah, because they used whatever the defensive cooldown they had, they used whatever I don't know, the big resource, the big ultimate, and we can now just get a kill. Yeah, that's how I would put it. But yeah, this is definitely the part. The attention is the part of building an advantage. And that's why all of it, off angles, what we talked about before, like even cover, all of the stuff before, it can be considered you building an advantage if you need it. Yeah, like avoiding the poke is the part of building an advantage. Getting the bad angle is the part of it. Minimizing your exposure is the part of it too. I was just thinking about soft dives. Yeah, exactly. Soft dive, yeah. Soft dive versus hard dive. You gotta... well, at least this is the way of thinking. Soft dive, you bait stuff. Hard dive, you can mostly look for the kill. You're going full in the way. Yeah. Okay, are there any more questions? Or we good to end the class? Because I think I mentioned almost everything for today. When I'm soft dives, go in, die, come back. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense, yeah. Ideally, you shouldn't die during the soft dive, you know? Ideally, you're trying to live. During the hard dive, though, maybe you can die because you can look for the trades. Let's say I go in hard dive and I traded my life with more lives from the enemy team. If this is gonna be okay, like... big picture wise, this may work, but during the soft dive you can't die. It shouldn't happen. Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. I think, yeah, thank you guys for being here today with me, and I will see everyone later as well. The next Monday we have the class again. You guys have any questions later, or just well, in general, tag me. Feel free to tag me in the questions or general chat. I'm reading the questions from time to time there, so I will answer. All right, then bye everyone, and good luck in the games too, guys.